Direct overhead, direct overhead. There's a gang stalk helicopter for uploading reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube. We're on Topanga Canyon near Victory. Yeah, that was a buzz. That was a buzz right after I was talking to somebody in the local car garage here who actually showed an open mind to hearing about the non-humans living among us. What do you know? He wanted to know, so I gave him my website. And that was a helicopter, that was a LAFD buzz. As you know, I get LAFD and LAPD. Okay guys, check out this brilliant report that Rainetta Jones did on the Spider Queen. This is really unique information, and check it out on the Super Soldier Talk. If you want to check out the full thing, this is just an excerpt of it, but check it out on Rumble. He didn't post it on his YouTube channel, Super Soldier Talk channel on YouTube, but go to Rumble Super Soldier Talk, and he's got the full episode there, the link's below.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Super Soldier Talk. I'm James Rink and I'm your host, but we also have a co-host here with Stephen Kelly. Stephen Kelly was his ex-NSA/CIA, and he worked on laser systems for the military, and also he has a connection to the Getty, which he might explain in this video when we discuss more about the Spider Queen later on. And then we also have Rainetta Jones here. So Rainetta Jones is has connections with Inner Earth with her channeled messages, and are some of her past messages. We visited places such as Atlantis and also El Dorado, which is on our last show, which is located under Trinidad. So welcome everybody to the show. How's everybody doing?
Good, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay.
And thank you, audience members, for joining us here today. So just to give you a little background here, this Spider Queen was basically captured by the U.S. military. Has her perhaps under Area 51, I guess is what we were picking up in some of this regression material that we've done. And her minions, she's calling in her minions to come and rescue her. And there's a portal under this mountain. What was it? The Shanghai Mountains in China. There's some kind of facility down there where her minions have infested, coming through the portal. That's basically the story? Okay, right? Are we getting close to this, Rainetta?
Yeah, I think it might be Stephen's territory, the Getty.
No, but I'll respond to what you're saying when you're ready.
Yeah. Okay, so whenever you're ready, I can get started.
Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
So I had about maybe 3 months ago, I don't do underground for specific reasons, and mainly because they keep trying to get me to go underground, kidnapping me and all this crazy stuff because of the cybernetics in my body. That's what I'm thinking is the reason. It could also be genetics. It could also be for children, hybridization, who knows? But from what a couple of friends who are in the know about the undergrounds told me, it has to do with genetics. So I was taken under there, I didn't want to go because I don't do underground, a couple months ago, and it was under the Getty. Now I'm going to tell you what I saw, and I shared this with Stephen. Like I said, I'm not an expert on Under the Getty, so this is why I think it's better to have Stephen here, because he is the expert on the Getty. But when I was taken down, I started to drop. So when I was dropping spiritually, everything to my left and my right was black. I literally did not see anything until I got to the absolute bottom of where I landed. When we got to the bottom, there were two things that I saw. There's a bottom, and then there's another bottom below that. I'm going to tell you about the Spider Queen first. When I got to the bottom, I was brought and literally put before this 200-foot spider. She was in an electromagnetic prison. And I drew these things out. I'm not the best illustrator, but I tried to draw it out based upon what I saw that day. And she was in an electromagnetic prison. She had two large eyes. She was black, but like her hair on her legs looked like they could have been like blonde. So it made her color look a little bit different. The electromagnetic prison, what was interesting about the prison was that it was different colors, like the bars or the rails of the prison. So it wasn't physical, it was electromagnetic, but it was the color like of the rainbow. So I stood there before this spider in this cage, and I said to myself, I said, oh my God, that's the biggest spider I've ever seen. And then I said, she's sleeping. But that's when she tapped in, and I think the reason why I tend to see Dracos and Greys, I mean, they just follow me everywhere, okay? And I think it has to do with the technology. But the reason why I think I can communicate with these things is once again because of this technology. So when I said to her, I said to myself, I said, oh my God, she's sleeping. Immediately, her third eye, which was bigger than her other two eyes, it connected to my brain and she started communicating. And she said to me, she goes, I'm not asleep. And she said, but the crazy thing is she was in a deep state of meditation. That's why I thought she was asleep, but she wasn't asleep. She was pretending like she was asleep. And then she said to me the most interesting thing. She said, they think they have me as a prisoner. She said, they don't realize I can never be held captive. And then she did the most incredible thing with the electromagnetic prison they were keeping her in. She stretched out one of her spider's legs, and touched one of the bars. And when she did that, she literally let me see that she was able to be in more places than one. Now that electromagnetic bar, like I said, was multiple colors. There was something to that. And that's when I said to myself, I said, oh my God. Okay. And then I pulled out of there. Now, when I pulled out of there, I went to what I assumed to be a floor above. Now, above that floor, I was looking down and I saw this ocean or river of water. It was huge, a huge body of water, right? And the water looked like the purest water I've ever seen. But what was in the water, and I'm going to show you guys this, what was in the water was some type of like wiring or cable system. And the cable system led to this tall pole, and then the pole had this orb on top of it, and it was giving off energy that was hitting where we call the surface of the earth. That energy coming up was connecting to 5G towers, the electrical grid, and the communications grid. Then it uplinked to the satellite, and then the satellite sent a downlink back to the earth. And what I saw was that this underground weapon that was connected to the surface grid, that was connected to the satellites, uplinked to the satellites, was actually making the people zombies. Literally, like, this is why people they can't see the truth, they can't hear the truth. Another thing that I noticed too was that their inability, for example, the current ability, our current ability to see is limited. Okay, it should not be. We should be able to be, seeing entities. Now, the average person who sees entities gets classified as mentally ill, but we should be able to see them. And many people who do see them in the West are called crazy, but in places like the Caribbean, in places like Africa, they're considered shamans, or they're considered witch doctors. So people see things differently. Now, what was interesting about this technology on the ground was that it literally blinded the people from seeing a larger bandwidth of the light spectrum. And it also made them deaf to these things. So I'm wondering, well, I kind of know, but I'm wondering if I'm able to communicate and connect with these things, because once again, the technology in my body. So I don't want to take up too much time, but what I want to do, if you don't mind, if I can show you just in maybe like 5 minutes, a quick presentation of the history of spiders and the history of spiders literally being the weavers of the universe. Do you mind if I do that? Yeah? Okay. So just give me a...
You want to share your screen?
Yeah. I'm going to do
okay.
it. Mm-hmm.
I was trying to switch over to spotlight layout.
Okay, let's
And
see.
figure out how to... I want
Right.
you to be spotlight. Oh, wait. Is that how you do it? There you go.
Okay, wait, hold on. It's telling me to sign in. This is going to be like, oh my God. I already have it laid out. I hope it's not going to give me problems. If not, I'm just going to send it to you.
Yeah, maybe shoot over on Skype.
Yeah, I do have Skype on this computer. Yeah, I'm going to send it to you now.
Hey, can I give you my quick preliminary feelings about what you're talking about? Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to go out on a limb here, James, because I think this is what my intuition is telling me is going on here. Mm-hmm. But what you're describing is basically Lilith, okay, with the tentacles and all that, because often Lilith is depicted with multiple arms and that kind of thing. And she's also been described as a sea monster, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the biggest things, and I'm just skipping ahead here, is the whole business with being able to be in more than one place at one time. This is something that not too many entities can do. The Holy Spirit technically is the only entity that can do that. The angels can't even do that. And that was what Lilith used as a threat when she was being subdued, when she said that she was going to kill all the babies and that she could be in all these different places, and the angels couldn't stop her because they couldn't be in all these different places like her. That's why the angels had to go back and things happened. But the other thing is that Lilith, we think of the three, a lot of the big three that hybridize us, the Draco, the Gray, and the Anunnaki. The Draco, of course, being the lizards, the Anunnaki being the bird people, and the Gray being the insects. Now, you're talking about a lizard queen who certainly, to me, seems like she'd be the queen of the insects. So maybe the Gray are her people. And if she's being held under the Getty, it's like, who controls that? The Draco. Now, the Draco and the Gray and the Anunnaki have technically been at war, but there's supposed to be a treaty going on, and that's why we're out there killing them, because they violated this treaty, and that's why we genocide these guys. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if our government, the people in our government, had this entity in bondage, because that would make a lot of sense, right? As part of this war. But the other thing is that our big salvation thing, this whole purpose of the Getty, because we're trying to look beyond into the future, is basically bringing everybody home. So if this Lilith has actually been subdued, then maybe she wants to come home, and maybe this is how we make this bargain. Now, in other words, it's like, yeah, it's true, she's more powerful than they know. But the other thing is also that really intrigues me when you first started talking about this was that I've been trying to look beyond the Getty for some time, because I know this is a long process. The Getty's only really a start. There's all kinds of bases everywhere, but where does it end? What's the big thing? And I'm looking at China, and I've been looking at K2 under the mountain there, and K2, Everest and all that area. And this is what I expected was the domain of Lilith. So if you're telling me that this entity, that's her domain, it sounds like you're talking about the same entity that I've been chasing down here. But I see that the big fight here, kind of on Earth, at least as it is, ends with this Lilith. And it's not a fight of destruction, but more of a fight where we all come to a compromise. So if she's in bondage, like you're suggesting, well, that seems more likely that she may be willing to negotiate, which is what we've been talking about for quite a while, right?
Yeah,
Wow. So Rainetta, where do you want to bring this?
Sure. I mean, I'm actually like really, really impressed.
Makes sense, huh?
Huh?
Makes sense, doesn't it?
I mean, yeah, because I'm sitting here going, oh my God, this makes sense. Because I didn't think she was Lilith. She didn't tell me her name.
Well, I never told you about this stuff. I don't think about the whole China thing, but yeah. All right. I'm just going to go out. I'm going to share something with you, James. You're going to like this. Your fans are going to like this. This is something I don't talk about. Okay. I'm going to share with you something I don't talk about because it's kind of embarrassing. All right. But, you know, in this business, you can't be embarrassed about anything. Am I right, James? So here it goes. You know how you ask the universe to tell you what's up. You get to a point, you say, okay, what's next? What's next? Give me the answer. Fill me in the next bit of information. And I was at this stage a while back when the Getty business was going really hard and heavy. You know, the Jedi were doing their thing. And I knew it was going to be a big, big thing, but I just wanted to know what the end game was all about. And I needed some input. And I didn't really know where I was going to get it, you know, because I had access to, you know, all these years, just about everybody you could possibly think of. But then the input I got, this is the embarrassing part, was from the Sasquatch.
I believe it. I believe it.
The Sasquatch.
I believe it.
The damn Sasquatch, the Yeti. And here's the thing. I mean, I rejected this flat out. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy, until I actually heard what they had to say. And basically what they said was that they were one of the original 8,000 species that was here on Earth that were getting wiped out by these big three, you know, Draco, Repto, etc. And this is, and they were hiding. So they're, you know, and of course the humans, you know, like the American Indians, etc., were hybrids, and they were used to hunt these guys down, basically, because that's what they made us for, to do stuff like that. Anyway, so I wanted to know what the answer was, and that's where the answer came from, which is, like I said, really kind of crazy. But essentially, what I got from them was that there was going to be a big final battle, and it was going to be somewhere in Asia. And I've been looking at China really hard, but I realized it would, you know, these bunkers and everything, it's probably going to be under one of these mountains. And sure enough, we know there's big holes in the sides of K2 and stuff like that, right? You've seen those big holes of flying saucers flying in and out. And I always thought that maybe we can get these Yeti to, you know, fight on our side, help us out when we get to this point. But at the same time, like I'm saying, and this is kind of the hardest part for people to understand, is that ultimately we have to, you know, we have to make peace. We have to bring the family home. And that includes Lilith, right? Because Satan, Lucifer, Lilith, whatever, what's her name? You know, not Lilith. Come on, Rainetta, what's her name?
Isis.
No, not Isis. Isis is just one of those. No, the Gnostic name. What's the Gnostic name?
Oh, Sophia.
Sophia.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about, is bringing Sophia home and her children. Be they abominations or whatever. And this is an abomination, and Lilith was the abomination, the big abortion abomination thing, you know, that we call Lilith. I mean, I still can't figure this all out because, you know, different people have different variations of who the different players are, but you just kind of try to put it all together and throw it against the wall and see what sticks. And this is starting to make a little bit of sense. Now, again, the black goo business, though, you know, this is a conversation we've had a lot about, because that's a big deal when we go down and do this Getty business. It's all about trying to stop this black goo being sucked out of people and figure out where it's going and redirect it and cleanse it and filter it and, you know, that kind of thing. Stop feeding, stop using it, stop it from going down the portal wherever it goes to feed the enemy. But to me, it's like a spider web, right? That connects to everybody. These black tentacles. We all got it. It doesn't matter how good you are, you still got one of those stupid things, right? I mean, what are you going to do? You know, you try not to feed it, but in the astral, we can do all kinds of stuff. You know, but yeah. So it's kind of like spider legs reaching out everywhere. And then, you know, back to the body, the main, whatever it is. Trippy stuff.
Absolutely. I think, Stephen, you're batting 100. I'm going to tell you really quickly, like, I want people to see the visual, but the good thing is the audience here they already get the spider. But when I met her, I went on this trail because I was like, okay, I have to find her historically. She can't be something new. So then I started to discover all the ancients had some form of mythology on this spider. So I want to show you guys. This is goddess Utu. Okay. And she was the daughter of her father. Now, if you look at Utu carefully, Utu looks like a spider. But when I'm done with this presentation, you're going to see that Utu looks like something really peculiar that you really have to start asking yourself, who is this spider? Right?
Batting 1,000. Someone's saying not 100. Batting
okay, sorry.
1,000.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
I
don't play baseball, but thank
Sorry.
you. Okay, so this is the Celtic goddess. I can never pronounce her name properly. It's Ariane Rod. Ariane Rod. Okay, she's depicted as a spider, the weaver of the universe. Basically, the entire universe is connected in a cosmic web. And according to Celtic mythology, she is the one who spins the web that connects all the planets and all the solar systems and all the galaxies together, right? This is the West African spider god called Brer Nancy or Brother Anansi. He is known as the weaver of the universe. And the way he builds the universe is that he builds it through stories continually. And each time he spins his web and he creates a story, which is a universe, and all the planets in it, and all the constellations, etc., etc. He said the inhabitants go through a learning process. So that's Brother Anansi or Brer Nancy. This is Arachne in Greek mythology. And Arachne was part of the divine comedy of the gods, or the divine, well, they call it like the divine, comedy or the divine play of the gods. So she was up there, okay? And she was also, I believe, a daughter of her father. Incest was really big with these entities, okay? And I don't think these are, I really don't think that this is mythology. I think that these were humans trying to trying to describe historically what was going on. This is the spider goddess of Mexico, Teotihuacan, of, I believe, the Incan, okay? Her worship, where she resides, what's interesting about her is, Stephen, you're going to love this. She lives underground, okay? She is mixed gendered, okay? Her adherents, her followers, practice child sacrifice, genital mutilation, okay, and what we call today in psychology, gender dysmorphia. Okay, think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so transgenderism is a part of her cult worship, and she lives underground, okay, in the Americas, okay? This is Jabulon. This was the most difficult to find. This is the god of the Freemasons. Okay, and Jabulon is a spider with 3 heads, a man, a cat, and a frog. Okay. Interestingly enough, when I met the spider underground, she had a giant third eye, and the king of the king of the Masons, he has a third eye on top of his head. Okay? We're talking about, and here's the secret of Jabulon. If you are a Mason, 33rd degree and above, you are not permitted to ever speak about Jabulon. Ever, ever, ever. There was research on Jabulon on the internet when I found this information. But when I went back 3 days later, the entire internet was scrubbed of Jabulon except the picture. Luckily, I took the screenshots. This is the Nazca spider in Peru. You guys know about that one, right? Now, here's what's interesting. This is the only Templar church, this photo It's from the only Templar church in England. It's a Catholic Templar church. And part of the church's architecture is round, the Templars, right? The dome of this very secretive church is a spider's web. Now, why would the Templars build the highest part of their building like a spider's web? And the spider's web also looks like an all-seeing eye staring down at you, which is reminiscent of what I saw when I went under the Getty. This is the Sephiroth. I know a lot of Jewish practitioners are going to be insulted by this. But to the right is the Sephiroth. To the left is a spider. When you look at the body of the spider, it matches the Sephiroth perfectly. Does everyone see this? This is not a coincidence, people. Okay? Now,
Well, supposedly the Sephiroths, those are that's like an Anunnaki symbol.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you just use your eyes, that looks like one giant spider that's weaving a web where all the parts are connected.
Let me just say something here really quick, because this will sort of go with some of the stuff people are saying. There's a lot of questions going on. It may be possible that this entity is not really part of the big three. It's like a separate entity that has something, it's kind of like the controller of the goo. It's kind of like Dune, the spice. You got to want the spice. You got to deal with Lilith. So it's almost like by capturing this entity, they're trying to control the spice, if you will, or the goo. Or, the loosh is what it really is, of course. Mm-hmm. That makes sense, right? So maybe, she's not part of the gray. Maybe she's something else. Because I always thought that the Lilith was like the mother of the tribe of Israel, the Jews, so to speak. Whereas they were separate. They were a different tribe than the three that came from the big three. And then, of course, there's sub-hybrids. The Palladians, their breakdown of the way this goes, they break it down to separate entities. What do they say? You've got the Romi is one of the groups, the big group that they say is one of the pre-humans. Mm. You got the Aryans, which is a proto-human, and then you've got you got Asians, and you've got the the Hispanic type, which isn't the same as the Romi, like South American, indigenous people, all that sort of stuff. It's kind of confusing. We try to figure out who comes from who, because like a lot of this stuff here, we associate with like the Aztecs and some of those cultures, kind of like the Anunnaki is associated with Lebanon, right? And, Zachariah Stitchin and that whole business with the Mesopotamian Valley. So maybe, they had different continents. Maybe, these guys were here, it's kind of hard to, you got to, obviously we know the Anunnaki were big in the Lebanon and Baalbek and all that, right? They left their stuff all over the place. But, and then these guys, are very prevalent. It seems like the lizard stuff is very prevalent in South America, with the indigenous peoples and the Toltecs, et cetera, right? Mm-hmm. So who else is there? There's, you've got you got the Anunnaki, you've got the reptiles. Where's the insects? Who's represented by the gray? Right. What culture is represented by the gray? This is what I'm asking here.
I don't know. I have to look into that. But that's a good question. I really don't have the answer.
Well, what do you think, James?
So I guess the spider would be more in line with AI entrainment, certain mantis and like archons, mantis connected with. By the way, there are some positive AI groups, positive, like the jumping spiders. I had a guest on here that was connected to the jumping spiders. They said that they were good ones, but most of them are not, or more like they're more just they're programmed to do their task, and that's all they do. They don't really. It's not. You wouldn't really call it positive or negative. I could share. I have a lot of things I wanted to share. For instance, just recently I did some more work to do some memory recalls about my time in Project Ibis. And does anybody here, do you either of you two know what Project Ibis is or heard of it?
Yep.
Okay.
That's what we're in right now.
So in my particular case, so in Project Ibis, they would bond the child to a particular animal. So in my cage, there was a 3-inch spider, and they wanted the cage was about 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot, and
What she said.
glass walls. Yeah, but this spider was just doing its thing, connected to Mother Nature, and just following out its program. And I would talk to the spider and ask it, why can't I make a web? And it says that I'm not like him or her. And so, yeah, but ultimately that particular trajectory, I write about in my book. When they sent me to the moon, they started injecting me with spider DNA. And then I'm just trying to communicate to the other aspect of me, that other clone body. We find he's totally like the whole mind is like goo, not black goo, but some kind of femtonite goo in his brain. So it just totally takes over the consciousness. But I don't know. I have a lot more about Project Ibis, but I just don't want to go too much on that. But what I can say, yeah. So, where else? How about Rainetta? Maybe we should even spend a little bit of time to discuss how you actually came into this information, because we were doing some session work together, and that's when we went back to El Dorado to meet with King Oban.
Yeah.
And you want to do you want to go into that or
yeah?
Okay.
This is a really important picture that I want you to see. You see the image to the right? It's two separate images. One to the left is the spider that I saw under the Getty, presumed spider, right? Stephen is the expert, so I'm presuming. To the right is the Earth. This is in the dead center is the Earth. The color spectrum that's coming out of it, the light spectrum coming out of it, is what the Earth's magnetosphere looks like. That looks like a giant spider. That is not a coincidence. And when I saw that, I said, oh my God, now I understand what the ancients were trying to illustrate when they wrote about this story of the gods. The Sumerians, which I think is the next one, or the first one. Well, that goes to the weapon that I saw underground, right? But the Sumerians had the same illustration. There were two globes and then the same sort of spectrum around it, and they called her Utu. So it hit me. What's under there? Because remember, these Templars are alchemists. These Templars are occultists. These Templars open portals. So I was trying to figure out, oh my God, did they capture the essence of Earth's magnetosphere? Or could they have captured the essence of what holds the universe together, which is this interconnectedness, which King Oban said, he called it the cosmic wave, right? That holds all of the planets together. It literally binds every planet together.
I think, Rainetta, I think they're just mimicking the cosmic wave, just like a reflection of the microcosm of the macrocosm kind of thing.
Yeah, but here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this thing really is a spider, and they were able to materialize this. These people are occultists. They were able to materialize this in real form. What do I mean? Okay, so we have a sun, but they create a sun under CERN. The Chinese are creating an artificial sun. You see what I'm saying? So my thing is, were they able to literally bring this spider, Earth's magnetosphere, or even worse, with the very fabric that's holding all the planets together, were they able to bring this thing into physical form and trap it underground, right? This next one, and I'm almost done. This is the weapon that I saw underground, okay? And this was above where the spider was, okay? And this weapon pushed out a massive amount of energy onto the surface of the Earth, okay? Okay,
let's see if I'll try to make it a little bit bigger. Hopefully this is going to work.
Yeah.
Maybe not. That's not going to work.
That actually made it a little bit bigger.
It did? It did?
Yeah, it did. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know, but you can't see it because they're all, boxes are in front of it.
Okay. So the next one, look at this. This, after I went around and I saw this, this is the weapon on the left that I saw underground. At the very bottom are two gates. The gates produce a massive amount of energy that cancel each other out. The canceled energy produces a type of energy that goes up. It changes the spin of the water from negative, I believe, to positive ions. Then there's these these cables that goes into this water. Why are they trying to make me mad?
I have to interrupt here just for a second here.
Okay, go for it.
All right, James, you heard I just found out about this recently. Project Eden CIA paper came out here. Did you get a hold of that one?
Why don't you explain to the audience what's going on with that?
All right. I'm just going with the flow here, but I'm seeing a weapon. All right, Project Eden was basically a CIA thing, kind of like a polar shift explanation. It's kind of like the official CIA explanation for the polar shift, and it's suggesting this is just something that happens. But what I'm looking at here basically suggests to me that this could be, now, first of all, it looks Anunnaki, and it looks like a weapon that could be used for change polar shift. Now, we know fallen angels and all that the original deluge, of course, was caused by a polar shift, which caused the Antarctica to fall off of its, the ice cap to slide in there and cause a big tsunami up the Indian Ocean. That wiped out Mesopotamia and left the boats up on top of Mount Ararat. So that, and in the CIA paper, this Project Eden, they kind of come out and say, well, this happens, this had happened, this is what happens. There's nothing we can do about it. We don't know how it works. Now, so in other words, this looks like it's left over from the Anunnaki, kind of like a big FU to the humans, when the fallen angels thing went down. And this looks to me like how they did it. So again, this whole thing, Occupy Getty and all that, it's all about this war between these three entities, and everything I've seen so far looks like this is all part of this big war. And we see the Anunnakis, we've seen the Greys, the Dracos are the only one that seem to be represented here as much, but this looks like it's leftover war thing, and it seems to me that these guys are all taking each other hostage. I mean, maybe that's what's going on. Maybe this Lilith thing, this architect of the universe, which just sounds like Lilith, right? And what was her name again? Sophia. We're taught to not recognize these as females, but pretty sure that's who these people are, right? And it sure seems to me that our salvation may be here. I know we're wiping out all these guys, and now they want to make deals and stuff. We haven't heard anything from the Anunnaki, have we? We've heard from King Oban. We've heard from Mama, what's her name?
Mami Wata.
Yeah. And I'm beginning to think here that this is all tied in, and that this entity here, it's kind of the same thing, because I know where this is all going to lead to. It's going to lead to Lilith. And if Lilith is actually a captive here, and if Lilith is truly the architect of the universe, i.e. Sophia, whatever it is, because we know that's how it was all created, started from the bottom up, after this big fallout, from the aeons and all that, it would all make sense, kind of.
You know what? The Gnostics said that Sophia was captured.
Maybe that's what this is.
Huh.
So is that what's part of the creation of the Matrix, which was there was a book, was it Falling Timbers or Cedars or something like that in Russia? This child that grew up out in nature, and she was fully connected to Mother Earth, and she found that during Atlantis, the priest class wanted to dominate the people. So typically what they would have to do is go through initiations to make themselves more advanced, do the work to do that, to be more advanced. However, they found out that it could be easier to just dumb everybody else down, and that way they can so they created something what's called like a matrix, and it's self-perpetuating. Even though Atlantis doesn't exist anymore, it became conscious because the belief and it was so strong. And that's what possibly maybe that's also connected to these archons that look spider-like. Was it Carl's? Oh gosh, I can't remember the guy who was talking about the black goo.
Castaneda.
No, it's somebody else. Carl something else.
Oh, that's Klaus Vela.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, so they were describing. Miles Johnson was interviewing him, but about the Archon.
Klaus Vela.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
Let me.
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm almost done. So this was what I saw. Hold on. Oh, this was what I saw to the left underground. And then after I left underground, I started looking. This is what I found from the Sumerians. It's the exact same thing. And it connects to a satellite. The winged disc. That's a satellite. Okay. Then this is what James sent me. And there's a spider injecting itself into the web of the universe. This is what I saw, the last image I saw when I pulled out from under the Getty.